Hello, and welcome to this online section of Psych 300 Introduction to Brain and Behavior. I'm your instructor for this course, Dr. Douglas Wallace, and we will be using the textbook Kolb and Wishaw, An Introduction to Brain and Behavior. Here's a photo of what the cover of the textbook looks like. You should be able to get that from the bookstore or even online. And honestly, this is edition 5. If you wanted to, you could probably go with edition 4, searching on Amazon, and that should be sufficient as well. If during the course you have questions that come up about any of the content, I'm best reached by using my email, dwallace@niu.edu. That's the best way to contact me. I typically check my email once a day during the week and once over the weekend. If you find that you're having any problems or struggles, we can either set up an appointment in my office in the psychology department, that's Office 309, or we can try virtual office hours using Blackboard Collaborate by appointment. So you can contact me via email to set up an appointment, or just email me with any questions you have. This course explores the biological basis of behavior. Students will first learn about the fundamental elements of the central nervous system, such as neurons and glial cells, and their function. Subsequent lectures and readings will integrate these elements into the systems responsible for more basic behaviors and progress into more complex behaviors. The class sessions are structured to follow an online format. Each class session will focus on content related to a specific or a single chapter and will be captured using Blackboard Collaborate. You should take notes from the lecture like you would during a face-to-face class session. You'll need to log into Blackboard and stream or download the MP4 file to attend a lecture. These can be found on the left-hand side, which I'll show you right now. So here we have on the left side the closed caption lectures. So if you click on that, that will bring up the lectures for the entire class. You can see them here. And you can either stream them by clicking here, or you can expand the screen and watch it full screen. So either of those ways are ways to interact with the lectures. If you need to pause it to do something else, you can stop it and come back to that point. You might want to take a note of where you stopped it, so you can go back to that time frame and start streaming it at that certain point in time. You will need to test this to make sure that this works. Some browsers may require some tuning with that. The ITS staff have a help desk in the library, and they're really good at helping students troubleshoot their problems. If you're not on campus, you can call 815-753-8100, or you can use email by sending an email to helpdesk@niu.edu. But they're really responsive and can really help students. I've used them several times. Blackboard lectures will cover material that's not covered in text and will sometimes go into greater detail than the text does. So it's in your interest to really engage with these lecture materials. They are closed caption, so when you are here, you'll want to click play and certain options will become available. So I'll just pause it here. If you go it'll go full screen and the captions should become available. So each one of these does have closed captions associated with them. Um, Next, we've developed several assessments to help gauge your understanding of the material. And the first assessment are lecture quizzes. So after attending a lecture and studying your lecture notes, remember you can attend a lecture multiple times and you study those lecture notes, you should try to take the lecture quiz associated with that chapter. The lecture quiz will be administered through Blackboard. So if we jump over here back to Blackboard, underneath that you'll see we have our lecture quizzes. And chapter one, intro, each chapter has a lecture quiz associated with it. You'll see that the test has a limit of 11 minutes, and the test will save and automatically submit when the time expires. Um, so you can work on that. The format of these lecture um, quizzes is relatively is similar across all of them. They're short answer questions. Um, Each lecture quiz will include 1 to 6 short answer questions based on the material presented in the lecture. You have 10 minutes to answer one of these questions. Once the time has elapsed, the quiz will automatically be submitted. The goal is to prepare you for the types of questions you'll see on the exam. This course is based on a lot of unfamiliar terms, and it'll be easier to learn them through distributed practice rather than trying to cram right before taking each exam. Each lecture quiz will be worth 5 points, and your lowest lecture quiz score will be dropped. So again, you'll see when you attempt that, the lecture quiz will have 1 to 6 short answer questions. You'll have to type that in, and I will grade them, and you can get feedback based on those um, answers that you give. The practice exams are another assessment that we have to help you gauge your understanding. Each chapter has a practice exam that will be administered through Blackboard. The practice exam includes 5 multiple choice questions pulled from a pool of 12 to 20 questions that are very similar to the exam questions. The practice exams are not timed, so unlike the lecture quizzes, you can take as much time as you want, and they can be attempted up to 3 times. The goal is to prepare you for the types of questions you'll see on the exam. The best score of your 3 attempts will be recorded, so there's no harm in attempting them 3 times. And in fact, it's to your benefit because the more times you take it, the more questions you see on the practice exam. You'll get more experience with the types of questions that you'll see on the practice exam. Each practice exam will be worth 5 points, and your lowest practice exam score will be dropped. Now, another component or assessment that we have for each unit is 3 non-cumulative exams that can be taken at any time. However, they must be completed prior to the dates indicated on the syllabus. If you fail to take the exam by the date, you cannot make up the exam and you will have to receive a 0 for the exam. Each exam will have 30 multiple choice questions, very similar to those practice exam questions, worth 1 point apiece, and 2 short answer questions, very similar to those lecture quiz questions, worth 5 points apiece. Once you start the exam, you only have 1 hour to complete all of the questions. So the typical flow or the sequence that you'll want to do is attend a lecture, take notes from it, study it, attempt a lecture quiz for that, try the practice exams for that, and then move on to the next lecture. And then each exam will cover 3 to 4 chapters. That's all laid out in the syllabus, and we'll see that below how those are going. Do not attempt the exams before attending all the lectures for that exam, attempting all the lecture quizzes, and attempting all the practice exams. Remember, those practice exams, you have 3 attempts. After you've done that, then try the exam. And you only get 1 shot at that. And once you start the exam, you only have 1 hour to complete all the questions. The last component of the course, and this is meant to be kind of a writing intensive research component, you'll have to work on developing a blog. And so you'll develop a blog on Blackboard that discusses the mechanism of action associated with a drug you select from a list of possible drugs. Selection is on a first come, first served basis. For your selected drug, you'll need to describe first the mechanism of action. How does it change neurotransmission in the central nervous system? How does that affect behavior? And describe the results of an empirical paper or an experiment investigating the drug. And finally, you'll need to provide the references in APA format for your cited work. A description of the project, rubric, and due dates can be found on Blackboard under the mechanism of action link. So if we go back over here to Blackboard and we click on mechanism of action, we can see here's a description if you open up this file, provide a description of it, the rubric, and the due dates. This file here provides a link to all the possible blog topics. So once somebody has been assigned, that topic will be crossed out and you'll have to select another of the remaining topics for your blog. This link here is where you can click on this and start making your blog. So you'll click on this link, go up here to create blog entry, click that, and it'll open up a window that you can type into, put links, and all kinds of other things to make a interesting, attractive kind of blog about that. Like I said, you'll need to describe the results of an empirical paper. This provides a link to PubMed. So you click on that and type in your drug up here. And if you want, you could add terms like your blog topic, such as maybe you chose amphetamine, and type in things like rat or human or something in addition, and that'll pull up many papers. So let's say it's MDMA and rat. Type that in. And you'll see down here that there are many, many different papers. And if this is indicated under that, you'll see free PMC article. That means that you can access that. That comes from researchers that have grant support from the government, and the results of that work has to be made freely available. And this site here allows you to get all these papers that are supporting that. So that's one thing that you'll want to look through to try to find work that's research. So this is the type of empirical article, these links that you'll want to go to. And then finally, when you're listing or displaying those references, you'll want to use APA format. And this link takes you to a page that describes APA format for how those references should be structured. So again, there are several components to your grade. You need to complete the lecture quizzes, the practice exams, and the exams for each unit. And we'll have 3 different units that we'll talk about next. You also need to submit a rough draft of your mechanism of action blog. The date is specified in that file, and also a final draft of that to be completed towards the end of the semester. Now, anyone caught cheating or plagiarizing will be dealt with in accordance to Northern Illinois University policy. So just have to state that. Your final grades in the class will be based on 3 exams. Each exam is worth 20% of your grade. And so that 3 exams, those 3 unit exams will be 60% of your total grade. The lecture quizzes will be worth 15%, all the lecture quizzes, and the practice exams will be worth 15%. The mechanism of action blog will be worth 10% of your final grade. This class will be graded on a standard A, B, C, D, F grading scale as indicated here, where 100% to 90% is an A, 89 to 80% is a B, 79 to 70 is a C, 69 to 60 is a D, and anything below a 59 and below would be considered an F. Now, our first unit exam will cover topics including the origins of animal behavior, neuroanatomy of the central nervous system, and the functional units of the central nervous system. So you'll want to attempt the lecture you'll want to attend the lecture for each one of these chapters, attempt the lecture quizzes, the practice exams, and then after you've done that for all three of these chapters, attempt the Unit 1 exam. Our second unit will cover topics related to neural communication, how the neuron communicates within itself, action potentials. The next chapter will cover synaptic communication or communication between neurons. And then the last unit here, we'll talk about drugs and behavior. You'll really want to attend this lecture prior to attempting the mechanism of action blog, because there will be a lot of terms here that will help you understand how those drugs interact at the synapse to influence the mechanism of action. After you've attended these lectures, completed the lecture quizzes and the practice exams, then attempt Unit 2 exam. Our final unit will cover development of the central nervous system and behavior, discuss some of the visual system processing and how the central nervous system is involved there, emotion and motivation, and then the final topic will be sleep. After you've attempted the lecture quizzes, the practice exams for each one of these chapters, then attempt the Unit 3 exam. The due dates are listed on the syllabus that's under the Content tab. Northern Illinois University is committed to providing an accessible education environment and collaboration with the Disability Resource Center. If any student requires academic accommodations due to disability, they should let me know as soon as possible, and I'll be happy to work with you to make sure that your needs are met. So we should set up a time to talk about this. And just as a reminder, the Disability Resource Center is located on the 4th floor of the Health Services Building. And here's the phone number, 815-753-1303. The email is drc@niu.edu. So again, if you need those resources, contact me as soon as possible so that we can set things up to make this a successful semester for you. Again, I think this is a really exciting course. It takes some of those basic units of the central nervous system and builds them out so that we can better understand behavior. And some of these insights from behavior help us really understand certain pathological conditions. If at some point in your life you have a family member that's affected by stroke or Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease, or even concussions, this class will provide some context for understanding why some of those symptoms emerge in these individuals. So again, thank you, and I really hope you enjoy this course. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I look forward to sharing the rest of the class with you. Enjoy.